What's Gucci, y'all? We have the Ted Jones Comedy Show at Asylum NYC on Friday, July 23rd at 9:30 p.m. 307 West 26th Street in Chelsea, Manhattan. 8 comics are going to come out and give it to you. Reg Thomas, Emily Wilson, Hannah Berner, Harrison Greenbaum, Jared Freed, Chloe LeBranch, Karen Feehan, Giulio Gallerati, and of course, I will be there, your host, Ted Jones. Tickets for the event are in my Instagram bio, Ted Jones World. Or you can find tickets at asylumnyc.com. Guys, this show is going to be amazing. Again, Friday, July 23rd at 9:30 p.m. Okay? Okay, great. See you there. Hannah, what's up? How you doing, girl?
I'm good.
So today is actually the perfect day to play tennis. Like 75 degrees out. You and I love playing tennis in the scorching heat, huh?
Yeah, we like to play tennis with danger. Like, we only enjoy it if we feel like we might die. And today, just a nice, beautiful 75. We're like, let's go inside and talk shit.
That's what I'm talking about. Guys,
Yeah.
Hannah Berner, the co-host of the Giggly Squad podcast on the Ted Jones World Couch, host of the Berning in Hell podcast, correct?
Yes.
I've known Hannah for like 3 weeks now, and I think tennis has brought us together like at least 100%
I was
more.
saying-
So I feel like I've known you for 6 weeks.
We're best friends now.
Yeah, I know. It's actually amazing.
Like,
I haven't had a girl best friend in at least 10 years.
are you one of guys who have girl best friends?
I think that my girl best friend had a crush on me, ultimately.
Well, yeah.
And I was dating her best friend, and it always seemed like there was some animosity. Like if I took her to like dinner or something, she'd want to be included.
Yeah.
So it's never like an authentic best friend
It's like, do you really
situation.
like me for me, or do you just want my penis?
Yeah.
I hate when that happens. I hate it.
Yeah.
No, I had a guy, best friend, comedian, Andrew Collin, but he wants to have sex with me. He just won't admit it.
So, he is gay or no?
No.
But
He's straight.
Okay.
He says he's disgusted by me, but it's not
Did
true.
you guys ever date?
No, we're just best friends.
Is this a joke, or are you blowing him up right now?
No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he's joking. He definitely wants to have sex with me,
Yeah.
and I'm always like, "You want to have sex with me?" But then he calls me buck teeth, and then I got,
Dude.
but then I got Invisalign, so now I know he
Oh.
wants to fuck me.
We were talking about
Yeah.
our Invisalign. I have had 8 different trays and I wasn't sure which one was like my actual tray, because you go through like 8 weeks of it,
Yeah.
and then you have a permanent one
Yeah.
after that. So like I've just been recycling through like 8 of them.
What
We're
fucks me
not
up with
really
Invisalign
sure.
is they say you have to change it every like 8 or 9 days.
Sure.
If it was 7 days, your girl would be on it.
Totally.
But the 7-8 day thing threw me the fuck off,
Right.
and
They're
now I'm
like
just
first
like.
time 7, second day 8, and then you just go back and
And
forth.
I guess I could have just put it in my calendar, but that would be
Sure.
too much preparation.
Actually, you know what? I've seen you a few times use your calendar on your iPhone.
Oh,
You're one of those.
I live and die by my
That's
calendar.
impressive.
Like,
Like, you're like, oh, let me see if
did
I'm
you
gonna
send
be
me a
like,
calendar
whoa,
invite
what
for
the heck?
this?
I don't know.
Yeah,
No,
like
I think
the
that we put it in the calendar, though. We talked about
And
putting
because
it in
it
the
wasn't an
calendar.
official calendar invite, your
Wasn't
girl
an
rolled
invite.
in half an hour late.
Oh,
Because it's
so-
like not
so
official.
There you go. If you ever have an appointment with Hannah over here, make sure it's a calendar invite. I should have sent you one. That would have been more professional. I got
It's
you like
okay.
the apple juice, Gatorade Frost, but I forgot the fucking calendar invite.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll work on it.
All right, cool.
Yeah, so
Excellent.
I walked in and Ted got me apple juice.
Yes.
And then you kind of shat on apple juice.
No, you started it.
I-
You were like, people don't really drink apple juice, and I was like, yeah, people don't. I wasn't gonna say anything.
Oh, so you were like
besides that.
disagreeing with me?
Oh, yes. I
Well,
was
like, if
politely
this
agreeing
friendship's
with
going to work, you have to have your own opinions. You can't just agree with, be a
sure.
yes
Apple
man.
juice is I. I'm not your, you're your yes man. I'm like your assistant. Like, yes, Hannah. Oh my God. Apple juice
Yes,
is amazing.
apple
Wait, no,
juice
it's
is great.
terrible. So we were talking about Hannah was like, I'll have a vodka milk. Like, what are you, Russian? Something like that.
But
I
I
don't even
was
know.
saying, I don't understand why they have orange juice, which is acidic, and like I feel like it makes your breath weird. Then cranberry juice, which is just sour as fuck. So you don't have some apple juice, which is just sweet. Like, why do you think the apple and Eve? Why do you think it was an apple? Because it's the sweetest.
Why Eve, do you think? Like Apple and Eve, I get it. But like, why, what's Eve
Eden and
symbolic
Eve.
of?
Eden, even. You know,
No, I don't. That's why I'm asking. Is it
Adam and
Adam,
Eve.
yes.
So it's apple. Okay, look, I
apple
don't
of her
know
eye, I
history.
just did.
I don't know
Neither do I.
history.
Okay.
But like,
Maybe we'll
but
change
then
the
also like
subject
Snow
shortly.
White,
Yeah.
they try to kill
You
her with
were
an
into
apple.
Snow White these days. Huh?
I'm like, I do a whole Disney bit
All right.
about.
So how often are you changing up your jokes? Granted that you're going to like a different comedy club every weekend.
Great question. So this is my first ever tour. So your girl's raw.
Right.
Your girl has no expectations. Your girl can say anything,
Yeah.
and no one's heard it.
That's great.
So right now I'm fresh as a daisy. But and also when I first started, I was doing like 20 minutes of stand up and then like Q&As when I was doing like a Berning in Hell type live show. So it's the first time I'm doing 45. So if there's jokes people heard, I feel like if the
cover
joke
your fucking ears. Right?
But I feel like if the joke, you know how like your friend will say something funny and you'll be like, say it again, like you want to hear the story again. Yeah. I just tell myself that if a joke is good, they want to hear it again.
Right. It's also a little bit intimidating. Like if I have people come to this like a show a week later from the show I did before, I'm like, all right, well maybe there'll be some overlap. And people don't really understand that maybe in comedy. Like you can't write 10 new jokes like every day. You know what I mean?
I'll explain it. It feels like when your friend is like, oh, tell that story again to someone. Okay. And as you're telling it, you feel awkward because you know your friend knows what you're going to say. That's how you feel with like doing the same jokes to another audience. Okay. But I feel like when I was an audience member before I did stand-up, I assumed that stand-ups just had like new jokes every time they perform, which is fucking insane. Yeah, that's crazy. Granted, I could every time do a different 10 minutes.
Hell yeah.
But we're not out here doing that shit.
Right.
I mean, I'll rotate stuff, or if there's jokes I haven't done in a bit, I'll put them in. But a lot of it is just lying to yourself. Like to even be a stand-up, you have to lie to yourself and think that people want to hear you talk at them for 45 minutes.
Sure. And also like lying during jokes too. Or do you keep like all your jokes strictly pretty truthful?
I don't lie, but I do talk like past tense. Like I'll be like when I was single. Sure. Because my whole issue was all my jokes were about being single. Whose fault is it? Is it their fault? Definitely not my fault. Is it society's fault? And then I got engaged, and that shit fucked me up.
That's great. Mazel tov.
Thank you. Thank you.
Terrific. When is the wedding exactly? Do you know?
In May.
This coming May.
Yeah, but okay, cool. My I hate to say it, but like my brand was very like messy fuck girl empowerment.
Sure.
Like just trying to fuck hot models.
Yeah.
Like I was.
So is it like retired fuck girl? I think we spoke on this.
Yeah,
right?
I'm a retired fuck girl now.
Let's go. We'll make T-shirts that say that. I
know.
It's a good little tee.
Yeah, that's. Well, I was on Call Her Daddy, and like the first episode I did with her, I was like talking about how I fucked the mascot at Wisconsin, and then I had like the craziest sex in a shower in the Hamptons with this like random older guy. Okay. Like and then fast forward, I invited him to the Hamptons.
It's like in the full suit.
Bucky's tanning.
Oh my god! Wait, was it the Wisconsin mascot?
Mascot, yeah.
Because so a badger.
Well, I was fucking around with the athletes, and then it wasn't going well. So I was like, "What about the funny guy?" Like the mascots were the funny guys who like walked with that, mascot walk.
Right. You didn't want to go for someone in like the drama department. You want to just go straight for the mascot.
I want to go for the mascot.
Sports.
Okay, yeah, like because they appreciated my sport.
Right. Totally.
And they were mysterious because you didn't know if it was him or one of the. There were like 7 of them. Yeah. I would like squeeze his ass and they'd be like, "Excuse me." I'm like, "Sorry." I never fucked him with a Bucky mask on, but
You didn't?
No. Also,
like
he probably would have hyperventilated.
Part.
No, I didn't want to be part of his like weird like furry fetish.
He wanted to do it?
He asked me once.
Stop.
And I was like, no.
To do with the badger head on and like full him.
Yeah.
Like, put his wiener in the underpants hole. I just understand guys who do that.
I like got scared. I was just scared when I was 19 about everything. I just was like, I don't.
Sure.
I was still scared of penises.
So for the most part, you had a regular childhood besides the fact that you were playing tennis almost every day, right?
Yeah, it wasn't that regular because it was so much tennis. And I don't have any addictive, like I'm not addicted to any alcohol or drugs. I'm actually like pretty straight edge, but I was addicted to tennis and I was obsessed with it and it was my everything.
Wow. And your dad like was pumped about that.
My dad was my coach. I remember very early on like winning and my dad like being so excited in the parking lot, and then we were just on a crazy journey of me and him against the world. But I also, to get a little deep, I grew up in New York City, as did you. And when 9/11 happened, I remember being like 9 years old and like the world just like didn't make sense. Like your friends' parents are dying and like the world is scary. And I just put like all my anxiety into tennis because like tennis made sense. I was like, you just go, you play, you win, everyone's happy. And I just did that for like until I hated it.
So you kind of explained like the good side of tennis, but I mean, I've heard of tennis parents just doing crazy shit in terms of like really getting involved in their tennis child's life. Like making them run after them in the car after a loss, or like breaking their rackets and not letting them play tennis for months, shit like that. Have you had any crazy tennis stories?
Well, my dad was more like the guy who believed in me more than anything, like to the point that I'd be playing like top 10 girl in the nation, and if I lost, he'd be disappointed. But it's like he gave me this belief that I would never had in myself, and I think he was very, very tough on me. And we've like, since I was 16, we've worked it out where he realized that I actually play better when he's just like unconditionally loving me. Right. But it was more, I've had actual coaches who like poured water on my head. After matches, you just have to like keep running until they tell you to stop. Doing planks on like 100-degree weather days in Florida and getting like burns all over you. Just a lot of physical abuse, but then like it was the emotional that eventually is the reason you like have to stop.
So you moved to Florida, and how long were you training there for?
For about 2 years, and I was playing international tournaments there and training in Florida. And it was just hard because there was a lot of like grip. I changed my grip. I changed my scenery. I changed the people around me. And it's just a lot of pressure for a 14-year-old whose parents are like sacrificing money for you to play. And it's just crazy shit that your mind is dealing with at a young age. But I've just learned to like be comfortable with being uncomfortable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, individual sports, I'd say in general, are
psychotic.
Yeah, and also like even golfers. Like golfers maybe even more so have less interaction with people than like tennis players, you know? At least tennis, you'll have somebody on the court with you, maybe like hitting balls back and forth. And then you get a break every like 20 minutes or so. But golfers are just out there by themselves for like 5 hours.
Yeah, and
individual sports in general.
Golf was a sport that I really loved, and I had to kind of choose between like, it was like golf. Actually, I mean, I used to play every sport. Golf, tennis, basketball, and softball were like loving it. Sure. But I love the individuality of tennis, but I also loved like I was fast and hyper, so the movement. But unlike golf, tennis has this variable of like who you're playing against. Where like golf, you're always playing against yourself, which is hard enough in itself. And tennis was like, you don't know, you might be playing a girl with just a huge kick serve that you don't know how to handle, or she's figured out your game and it's exposing all your weaknesses. But tennis, I always just thought of it as like a beautiful chess game. But I definitely have had anxiety my whole life, and I didn't know it, and it would just come up through my tennis. Like I would just like decide I like can't hit a forehand one day, or like decide I can't hit a second serve, but I'd still like somehow win a lot because I'm very scrappy.
You were like top 10 in the country, weren't you, at one point?
Yeah, I was top 15, and I just like knew how to win. Like they called me like
the grinder.
I was like, I remember coaches would be like, you have to play like, they called it winning ugly. Like I was really good at winning ugly.
That's like a book too,
but Brad Gilbert. Yeah. And I was the queen of winning ugly because all the girls had these beautiful strokes. Come on. And I was just like fucking getting in people's heads, being crazy, slicing. And I loved it. But deep down, I was like, your life could be so much easier if you just like played happily and like played within yourself. And to be honest, I never really got to the point where I was 100% happy when I was competing, because I always felt like it was judgment day for me. But like practice days, you would watch me play and you'd be like, is that girl number one in the country?
Oh
like,
my God, that's so funny.
And physically, I was like everything in college. Like I was always the fastest, the highest jumper, the best agility. Like any tests, you were like, this girl is ready for big time. And then you'd see me play and you'd be like, why is she frozen with fear?
This would happen to me like warming up even for tournaments. Like you'd go to Michigan for some national open or something. I'd be warming up 20 minutes before the match with a kid who was like a top player, and then I'd go to the match and I just get so freaking nervous. I don't know why. I would just get so tight. I'd start shaking, and then I just decided I couldn't hit a forehand for like an hour and a half. It's funny how tennis does that to people. Like there are some people who are so shitty in practice, and then they go to the tournaments, and like now they're the kid to beat. And then in practice, you're beating them like 6-0.
It's your perspective with competition. I always say, like, if I have a kid who plays sports, like, I'm just not going to emphasize winning at all.
Okay.
Which is weird because it's what everyone cares about. But if I could speak to my younger self, I'd be like, this match doesn't matter. And like you understanding your mind and be like, I would just be like, I don't want to be on the court, and they'd finally call my name, and I'd be like, fuck, the next 2 hours are gonna be horrible.
This is so
and
funny.
if I
went through
lose,
this shit too. Yeah.
but I felt really alone, even though I feel like so many tennis players are like that. But I would be playing #1 for University of Wisconsin.
You'd be winning though, like all the time.
Okay,
like, I
this
would
was
not
the
be
problem.
winning as much as you.
This is
Go
the
ahead.
problem. When you keep winning, you don't change. So like, if I wish I had like a bad injury, knock on wood, or like a losing spree where I had to stop and like sit down with my team and like reflect,
Yeah.
like something's not working.
Sure.
But when you keep winning enough,
Winning ugly.
and you keep winning ugly, and like I was just naturally very athletic and competitive, you can get to a certain level in women's tennis.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you're not beating the top girls who also have their head together and the big shots.
Yeah.
I mean, I won whole matches slicing my forehand the whole time for years. Not one topspin forehand.
Yeah, it's so funny you mentioned that, because like I remember I had a tennis coach who was just like, just be how you are off the court, on the court. You know, like carry the confidence that you have off the court and put it on the court. But like, it never fully clicked for me. Like in practice, I was beating guys who were way better than me, like way higher ranked.
Yeah.
But like once I got to the tournament, and then like I wanted to go play college tennis, my dad was the classic like, oh, he's way better than his ranking. You know, like that classic person. But like, I feel like I really was, but I just never was able to connect like my on-court and off-court confidence. You know what I mean?
I do think that I remember walking, I was playing one for Wisconsin, and we're walking past like the high school team playing to practice outside.
Yeah,
and I'm
like
looking,
the
Wisconsin like high school was like hitting, and I'm looking at these girls just hitting forehands, and I was like, I would give anything to hit a forehand like that girl. And it's just like this 16-year-old girl who like probably plays on the weekends, and I just felt like, how can they do it? But it's a lot of just like obsessing about something. Like I would obsess over my forehand like crazy, and then little do you know, it actually doesn't help it worsens it. Like I could psych myself out so much that by the time I'm on the court, I'm like, I can't do anything. And it's this weird thing of like, you have to care but not care too much, which is so hard to comprehend, because it's like, but this is my life, this is my ego, this is my everything. And similar to you, off the court, I also didn't really feel like I fit in with other tennis players off the court. I was
tennis
very.
players are so weird.
They're weird. They're also like a little socially inept in like the most focused way. Sure. Like they don't. I was just like silly and outgoing. I was super observant. I was always making comments of things. Also, when I was on the court, I knew exactly who was watching, where they were, why. Like I was so aware of everything, which is great for comedy, because you have to always be analyzing every situation and be like 10 steps ahead. Exactly. Yeah. And be observing everything to make a comment. But I was good in doubles, because there was this one girl on my team who was so talented, but like terrible anger management. Like she would just snap and like collapse. And I was the only one that could make her laugh. So like we started to win a lot of doubles.
That's when you knew it was your career.
No, I actually didn't know for a while after that. But I remember being like, Hannah, like just keep making Elena laugh. And oh, sorry, I just blew her name. But anyway, we love her. She was when she was smiling, she'd play her best. And I realized like I couldn't hit a forehand, but I could make that bitch laugh, and we would win a lot of matches.
College tennis is fun. For like the 2.5 years that I lasted, I told you that I failed the drug test twice, and then the third time I just didn't show up.
Well, you're basically like the track star at the Olympics.
I am. You're fucking right. Now she's like the hot topic. And also Ricky Williams. Shout out Ricky Williams. Follows your boy Ted Jones World on Instagram. That's my boy. And like he's getting all this press now. So smoking weed is in. That's what I'm talking about.
You got kicked off the team when you could have been celebrated.
They could have named a fucking stadium after me, like Ricky Williams. No, but that was a dark ass time in my life, because like all I had was the tennis team. The tennis coaches were like, oh, I'm so disappointed in you. When like we weren't that great. Yeah. We were spending, I don't even know.
How much weed were you smoking?
Probably every day. Maybe like there was a time when I stopped.
But it wasn't like an accidental party that like you got a little fucked up, took one hit, and they tested you.
Somebody was like, come on, Ted, try it. It's just pot.
What's his name? Gasquet, who like made out with a girl who did cocaine and which is a complete.
No, yeah, this one tennis player
I don't do
made
cocaine.
out with a girl in France.
Well, that's what he said.
Not do this cocaine. Okay, so the first time I got caught, you guys may have heard the story, but the first time I got caught smoking weed. This kid down the hall at a UConn, Vinny, had a vaporizer. So I was like, dude, you got to let me try that vape. He's like, it's perfect. You can even smoke it in your room. Nobody will smell it. So I believed him. I brought the vape to the room. I was roommates with a kid on the tennis team, and he had never smoked weed. This was the first time he was going to smoke weed when I made him do this, like this particular time. So we light up the freaking vaporizer.
So you're bringing other people into your bullshit.
Absolutely.
Continue.
So it took 20 minutes. I start taking a few hits. I get so high. I'm like, dude, you need to try it. He starts taking hits. We both get so high. We start doing like robot alien dances to each other's snacks on the like side of the room. We're like, snacks, snacks, snacks. We hear a bang on the door. So I'm like, what the fuck? I go to the door. I see like an orange piece of paper over like the little peephole. And I'm like, oh, like, shit, John. His name's not John. You know. I was like, John, the cops. So he takes the vaporizer, throws it behind the couch. They come in. They're like, where's the weed? It smells like weed. We've been getting complaints. I tell him where the weed is. Thank God he doesn't find my other roommate's like grinder and scale. Otherwise, he would have been caught for like dealing weed. So I went to probation, had to go to MAD, which is like Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
Yeah.
Had to go to a few classes, and that was the first time I got caught smoking weed. So I didn't smoke weed after that for like 2 months. I was like super into this tennis thing.
I thought you guys said 2 years. You said 2 months.
No.
2 minutes.
2 days. So summer break happened. Came back. I wasn't smoking weed for like 3 weeks. I was like, they're not going to test us. Smoke weed. Then 2 days later, they test us. I fail again. Stop for 3 months. And then they decide they want to test us again. And I was like, I'm not going to show up because I'm going to fail.
Yeah.
So that was
But
like
normally
me
it's supposed to be
quitting the tennis
random,
team.
like being tested that.
But the tennis team had never in the last 15 years had never been drug tested until we got caught smoking the freaking vaporizer from Vinny in my room.
Fucking Vinny. But it's funny too that they call weed like this performance enhancing drug.
Yeah,
And there are all these tweets that are like, see how I like talk on weed and see if it's a performance enhancing drug. I'm just like a mumbling idiot.
So I think that like the wave is obviously going towards legalization everywhere,
Yeah.
but it's just taking way too long.
Yeah.
Like, I have bought weed at the deli over here, like by my apartment.
Yeah.
And that's been relatively chill. But besides that, I mean, the guy's doing it like under the table, sketchily.
Yeah.
But I want to be able to go into any deli and just buy it at a reasonable price. It's the same thing as wine. Am I right?
Well, funny you say that.
Sure.
Wine is currently fucking people up because of the whole cultural concept of wine o'clock. Basically, it became so like culturally accepted and fun that like liver disease has spiked unlike any other for women recently because girls are just drinking 2 bottles of wine a night, being like, wine o'clock.
Wait, red or white, or does it matter?
Either.
Okay.
I mean, red is supposedly like an
Good for your
antioxidant
heart
if
or
you have
whatever.
1 glass a night. But girls are straight up just like, oh, it's 9 o'clock. Everyone's doing it, where it's like 2 bottles, bitch, and you're gaining
And the
weight.
face
and
is red, too.
Yeah, you got the red teeth stained.
Yeah.
So anyway, you're right. Wine. I mean, yeah, wine is so much more dangerous than weed.
It really is. Especially getting behind the wheel after that. Do you drive at all?
Honey,
Can we talk about this?
Do
we talked about
I
it
don't
briefly.
do.
I didn't mean to blow up your
No, it's
spot.
okay. I
You're
don't
like,
do
don't know how to drive.
anything.
What do you mean?
I don't smoke
do,
weed.
like, 10
I
shows a
don't
week.
drive.
What do you mean? At
I just do
least.
comedy and tennis.
Let's go. That's what I'm talking
That's
about.
all. Like, and I
all you
don't.
need to
I
do.
don't cook. I don't clean. Like, I literally just go on podcasts and talk shit, and then I go to sleep.
Right.
And people are like, "You're such a hard worker. You're always working." I'm like, "Yeah," and
It's
I
true.
literally don't do anything else.
So, what are the kind of topics that you talk about in either of the podcasts? Because I know that they're both like pretty similar, correct?
So they're actually quite different. Thanks for doing your research.
sorry.
Burning in Hell is
What's like interview style, and then the other one is you and your co-host.
So Burning in
I know
Hell
that.
is about. Don't try to save yourself. Burning in Hell is about basically talking to people about their demons, like what keeps them up at night, their anxieties. Basically taking them to hell, because I talk to successful people that you think are like super happy, and then I rip them apart to find
Sure.
like what's actually
Let's go.
what keeps them up at night, what their fears are, their insecurities. Giggly Squad is Paige and I, who became friends on this reality TV show, and people became like mesmerized by our friendship, and then we were like, oh my god, wait, are we funny? And then now we just do this during quarantine every single night at 10 p.m. We would go live on Instagram.
No way.
For 3 months straight, like crazy. And we are like, it's crazy we did that because we love sleeping.
But that's how you built your following.
I guess it got very culty.
Sure.
And so we talk about what's going on in our lives, our opinions of shit, and pop culture and like news. So it's a lot more general, where Berning in Hell is much more like intense, vulnerable, but occasionally Paige and I get vulnerable, you know.
Do you have to remember those topics when people ask you what your podcast is about? When you were like just naming them right there, you like pop culture events and stuff. Is that what you have to do? Because like when people ask me, I don't have like a bullet point.
I definitely
like, whatever,
we had to we like when we were doing Giggly Squad because we had to figure out, you know, like what's the elevator pitch. Sure. So I'm like, yeah, we talk about pop culture and gossip in our lives.
Yes.
It's even since I've been doing comedy, I remember the first time, because when you start doing comedy, you're just like, let's make people laugh.
Yeah.
And someone was like, so what's your comedy about? I literally just blanked. Right. I was like, ah. But because you don't go into it being like, oh, what is my message to the world? Like I feel like that's later in your comedy career. Sure. But right now I'm like, what is a joke and how do I have enough jokes that people are laughing as much as possible? But I think I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to reflect on my set to be like, okay, what are we trying to say here? What do I even care to talk about? Because you'll see with podcasting, if you don't care to talk about shit, you're not going to have a long-term podcast.
Yeah. You have to be super vulnerable and transparent, like always. And I feel like that's how I've, for the most part, within the last few months, I guess, since it's come back, like I've just been, I don't know, just trying to be as transparent as possible. And like, if I have to be dirty and say shit that like I otherwise wouldn't have said, like I'll say it, whatever. If I'm talking about like a stepmom, talking about like family stuff or whatever it is.
Is that the dirty stuff you talk about? Stepmom sex?
Talking about like banging my
stepmom porn?
I don't have a step. Yeah. Actually, that's funny. I did a stepmom porn joke the other night, but no one laughed.
I thought you were like, I did.
Yeah, I was like, I banged my stepmom. What did this part out?
Well, I'm sorry no one laughed at it, but we laughed now.
That was a good one. We'll laugh. Yeah, exactly. That's all that
trying new jokes is interesting because it's worked for me when it's like an extension of a joke or something that I thought of on stage originally, and that's how I'm like, oh, I'm going to keep that. Right. Like I do a lot of writing on stage. Yes. But occasionally I'll be like, I'm going to challenge myself. And actually, you were there this one night. I'm still upset about it. At the stand, I was walking around. I went to Target. I was bored in between sets. And I was like, I'm going to think of a joke. And I was thinking about like my nubby fingers and how I want to normalize.
You don't have nubby fingers.
I have like really big
ring,
palms.
Though.
Thank you. Thank you, babe. So I was talking about my ring getting engaged and just like normalizing like representation of like sausage fingers.
Okay.
And when like you think shit to yourself, it doesn't, it's not, the joke's not there.
Yeah.
And then I was like, it's like putting a bumper sticker on a Lamborghini, like don't put a diamond ring on a sausage. And like something about that was funny, but I feel like it's more captiony. But I don't know. There's some, I think in a certain space it's funny, but they gave me the light, and sometimes at the end of a set you get the light and like the timing's off or you just finished your ending joke. Basically I was like, I'm just gonna do this, and like no one laughed, and then I like didn't, I don't know, I just was like it was my never close with a new joke. Sure. But I'm crazy on stage. Okay. I'm wild. It's like I don't like the rules. I don't like when people tell me things.
Let's go,
I just do whatever I want. Yeah, Thank you. And then I learned from my fucking self that you shouldn't end with a new joke. But a lot of it's confidence, and also as outdoor shows, it doesn't count.
At the stand. Yeah. Okay. Have you done more outdoor shows like in other states though recently besides that show?
Not in other states, but I've done some Brooklyn spots.
Or like on rooftops?
I didn't do quarantine stand up. I put stand up to the side to focus on like I was filming some shows and I was doing a ton of podcasts.
Okay. Cool. For the most part, what would you say is like your favorite episode of either of the podcasts, if you can quote one for us to listen to?
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
I have Berning in Hell, everything's like my baby. I love them all.
Sure. You know what? Actually, like a year and a half ago, probably, I listened to one of them with Kelly Ben Simone. That's how I knew that she was on one of them.
Oh,
this is like a Desperate Housewife from what season?
Not Desperate Housewife, Real Housewife.
Oh, sorry. Real Housewives from like season 2 or 3. Or 4.
She was in.
She was on it for a couple.
She was in some like really epic seasons of Real Housewives in New York.
Okay.
And I had like a weird connection where I was able to get her on, and it was it was great. I've had the Berning Hell pods go in a lot of different directions.
Sure.
But everyone has a different, like, I always end with, like, how do you cope with your hell? And everyone has a real different, like, perspective on life. Some are like, you need to call for help. Like, you need to surround yourself with amazing people. And then some are like, you just can't, you just have to know you have to keep going. And then you have the ones that are like, find something you love. Like, it's really all over the place. So it hasn't helped me.
Okay. So no episode in particular that you fully stuck
I
out
love
for you.
any episodes with Nikki Glazer's been on,
Sure.
which has been great.
Yeah.
I love an early one with Emma Wellman. She was really great. I remember asking her about being in a lesbian relationship. I'm like, what is it like on your period? Because like in a heterosexual relationship, it's like I'm on my period, he's not. Yeah. I'm like, you guys must menstrual sync.
I was
like,
that.
do you? And she was talking about how she like. I was like, do you go down on each other? I was like, let's get dirty. And she was like, it's just called a bad weekend. And I was like, she's so open and funny. And I've also been recently getting like random TikTok people on, which is really funny because they're like 2 months ago, no one gave a fuck. And now like I'm really big on TikTok, and you're kind of talking to them like, what's it like? And they're like, I don't really feel famous. But it's like TikTok is such a unique thing that some people have blown up on.
Right, like you can just have 100,000 followers like the next day.
Yeah.
In terms of like growth from, I guess we'll talk about that. In terms of growth from like your TikTok and Instagram, have you noticed like a significant difference, I guess, within like the last year, ever since you started doing those live chats and stuff like that?
Oh, like Giggly Squad?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny with Summer House, my second season, I had like a really good storyline, they call it. I was like in a romance and like everyone got really invested.
Is that I think that's the season I saw. Is that the one with Jordan? That one?
That's the first season.
Okay, then that was
but I did have a British guy that season. He was cute, but he was so scared of the camera. When he's like this outgoing, fun, like party guy, like he's British, like he's obviously a good time. And whenever the camera would come, he'd be like, oh, like he said he'd turn into a scared kitten.
Shy turtle.
Yeah.
Was he on it a few times?
He came a couple times.
Okay.
It's just very hard to be on a reality show, and then when you meet like a normal guy you like, being like, okay, this is my life all summer.
Right.
If you want to be with me, like, and then there's like a weird trust where they have to trust you that's going to be okay, but you don't really trust the system as a whole.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a
can
risk.
Make you look however you want.
Yeah, so it's kind of a risk, but it worked my first 2 seasons.
How many weekends? I mean, I guess you spent every weekend out there when you were on it, right?
Yeah.
Like during the week?
Yeah,
or no?
During the week you'll film some city stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So dating was really hard with reality TV, like very difficult. Because you'd meet, I remember I'd be filming and you'd be at some bar and they'd be like, go flirt with guys. And like, I consider myself, like, I will talk to anyone. I consider myself like a former fucker. Like, I'm pretty smooth.
Right, retired, right.
Retired. I'm pretty smooth at podcast game, I'm like asking questions and shit.
With that hair, yes.
Actually, we did this funny, stupid like competition with me, Paige, and Amanda one night, and they were like, okay, see who could get the most numbers. And like Amanda has like these huge,
where was I?
Amanda has these huge boobs, and she was just walking up to guys being like, can I have your number? And she was like, and she also had a fiance at the time. It was like a joke, so she had no like ego involved. She was just like boom, boom, going up to any guy getting numbers. And then Paige was like doing okay, and then I got caught with some dude who was like fascinated with, like, I was from Brooklyn, and the whole time it showed me stuck in this conversation with this guy.
Do I remember this? Is this 1 or 2? Season 1 or 2?
This is my first season, I think.
I vaguely
yeah, and I remember,
this.
and I mean, it's like, I won, and I was like, I got stuck with this guy, who then ended up full on, like, kind of stalking me all summer. Like, he would just appear at events, and I'd be like, fuck you guys.
He was like in the hot tub with you.
That's, yeah, it gets, oh my God, it's so complicated. Men stress me out. But anyway, the hard thing about dating is I'd basically be at a bar and we'd be filming, and they'd be like, okay, go flirt with some guys.
Sure.
So then I would like see a guy, he'd make eye contact with me, I'd start walking towards him, and then there'd be 2 grown men behind me, one with a huge light and one with a camera, and the guy would either run away, this is our comfort zone, or he would talk to me, and then afterwards they'd be like, can you sign this release to be on Bravo? And they'd be like, no.
They have to sign releases
Yeah.
after. Okay, so I saw you guys at Southampton Social Club. I don't remember what year it was.
Yeah.
It was like Amanda and the girl who's always on it, Lindsay.
Yeah.
Lindsay, you guys they were like dancing in a circle. I like went up. I said hi to Amanda because Amanda and I went to the same college. Hi, Amanda. And like as soon as I came on the screen, I guess like all the lights went off and all the cameras went off. Like I guess they were just trying to get a shot specifically for you guys. Is that how it works?
That'll happen depending on what they need.
Right.
But Southampton Social would be funny. Like people would jump in front of the camera.
You guys definitely went there though, right?
All the
Maybe
time. We went there every night.
Right.
Like sometimes we go at the end of filming, sometimes during filming, but they would let us film. But anyway, it's a very like meta reality of like they want you to like live how you'd live, but there are all these external factors that are tough. And I was like, oh, I don't really want to ever date a guy who's like a reality TV guy.
Totally.
And then I was like, don't really want to be with a comedian.
Yeah.
But you know, the heart wants what it wants.
How did you get? I guess even on the show, like, did they?
So I was working at Betches. Well, first after I quit tennis, I was in sales. I was in marketing. I hated it all, but I was like doing well. I just didn't feel alive.
I feel you. Wasn't your passion, girl?
Like I'd rather be like losing tennis. Like I guess
Less
the highs
so,
and lows
right?
of tennis are so fucking intense.
You and I though, just hitting down the middle, just that's like one of the highs for me. I tell you.
Hell
just,
yeah.
like hitting it really well.
And then you get like the occasional little crowd on the side who's like, love.
But like the 2 times Hannah and I have played in the past 3 weeks, there've been like at least 5 guys like, oh, I see you smacking that ball out there, girl. I'm like, chill. And then they're asking you, they're like, is that your boyfriend? You're like, I don't know. I guess for the hour. I don't know, guys. Just move it along.
I've actually like very newly been getting hit on with an engagement ring. Like it's because I forget I have an engagement ring. Like,
how is that though? Has
it's
it really
weird because
changed?
the whole fun of New York is like walking around. You see someone who's like kind of your age, and you like always get sexual attention like wherever you are. And it's like, are we gonna make eye contact? Are we not? And then I forget like. Being engaged is so fucking sexist that like Dez is fucking walking around doing who knows what.
He's not wearing an engagement ring? Or
guys don't have engagement.
Oh, okay.
You're like, don't even know. You're such a fuckboy. You don't even know what marriage is or anything about it.
Literally, think about it. You guys do get engagement rings.
No.
Is that a band?
No, it's the most like old school thing where.
It's not sexist though. The guy's paying for it, right? I guess that's sexist, right? Yeah, it should be even.
Well, I forget the word. It's one of those big words, but it's just very.
Should we Google it?
It's very like.
What's that word?
Old school that like. You
when you hold the door.
Well, you'd chivalrous. No, that's not the word.
Okay.
But but that is a good word. We should use it later.
Yeah.
It's the concept that like proposing is just a very old school concept of like. They romanticize like out of nowhere, a guy is just gonna ask you to spend the rest of your life with him, and you're definitely gonna say yes, and the ring is gonna be perfect, and then like you're taken for, and he's showing your dad that he's gonna be able to take care of you.
Okay, I've got a load of questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of proposing, how was it done? How did Des propose to you, if you don't mind me asking?
So when I went to Summer House to film, I had just met him like 2.5 weeks. And you'd appreciate this. He would do this thing where he would send me funny like songs where he would put like what's the thing the T-Pain would put auto-tune. So he put auto-tune like the first time we hung out, he like couldn't find his remote control. So we did this whole thing about like I lost my remote control and how we also like lost my heart or something. Like just something it was very funny. And he would send me these videos all through Summer House. Then when I got out of Summer House, we moved in together. A couple months later, he stopped trying, and I wasn't getting any cute videos anymore. Okay. So we were with each other all the time. So then, I hate to say it, but I kind of overheard him talking to my dad for a second. And then my dad is so outgoing and like silly. He walks in and I was peeing and I pee with the door open. It's just like a family thing.
Yeah, that's like what I do too.
Like I don't like peeing with the door closed.
Sure, it's like claustrophobic.
Yeah, and I also feel my mom always had it open because when we were kids, it was like God forbid she shut the door. So yeah, sure. If you're snorting cocaine when you're 3 years old. You just envision me as a toddler. Just anyway, snorting like gummy beer powder. Anyway.
Gummy worms.
Fred Flintstone, you know those hard ones that
you orange and
snort that shit.
That's pretty good. I hear those are not so bad for you. I mean, they are really bad for you, and they're like, oh, vitamins for kids. Anyways, please. Go ahead.
Not important, but swipe up for Fred Flintstone.
For the clip for that one.
So he walked in, and I just heard him laughing, and he goes, "I said no, ha ha ha." And I was
Who
like,
said that? Your dad?
My
said
dad.
that?
But my dad's joking. But I just, you know how you know? And I was like, oh my God, he just asked my dad for like his blessing.
Des ask your dad if he could marry you.
I didn't.
That's got to be one of the more romantic things I think I've ever heard.
I didn't overhear their conversation. I just heard my dad leave the conversation and tell my mom I said no, haha, and I just knew in my gut. But like part of me was really upset because I wanted to be surprised. Like I love being surprised. But I realized again that's engagement shit where people are like, oh, out of nowhere he just has like a flash mob and like in the middle of Home Depot.
Okay.
Yeah. Either or.
Okay,
but like I feel a lot of people aren't surprised, and also like very early on he was like, I want to marry you. So I was just like, okay, put your money where your mouth is, and I just started sending him like links to rings. Venmos. Okay, so start paying for me to be alive. You love me? 3,000, 4,000. No, I got him in because I'm like, I'm gonna be your sugar mama. And then now I'm not in summer house anymore, so we're dealing with that. But anyway, long story short, I was like, he's gonna do it. I knew he was gonna do it, and I was kind of like keeping an eye out, like. And I wake up, and he's like singing some song in the other room. He wakes up at like 7 a.m. and I wake up at 9:30, 10. But it was like 8 a.m. and I hear him singing, and I'm like, what's he doing? And it was on Valentine's Day, and then I get a text from him. And it's another video of him singing. And then at the end, it's like, and I have to tell you something. And I'm like, just woke up, Invisalign, like crusty eyes. And he was just on the side of the bed. 2 knees, which I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Mm-hmm. But maybe double the love. And he was just like, would you marry me? And then I was like, I thought this was a joke. Like, you know how you just... I like texted him a photo to a ring. And he was like on it. And like... I just didn't know if
engagement ring or wedding
the
ring?
engagement ring.
So he sent. There are 2 different types. I just want to straighten this out here.
Yes.
So one engagement ring that's like whatever you
First
spend
their
like
engagement ring
5,000 whatever,
like
and then you spend
more than 5,000
for the engagement.
The engagement ring's crazy.
So the engagement ring,
if
and then on top of that, a wedding ring. I don't know.
If
you
spend $5,000, your girl would slap you in the face.
But 2 rings, you have to start off with what? And then
so you start off with a diamond ring,
sure,
and then you get a marriage,
of course,
and then you get a like whatever marriage. Kind of. Well, actually, I'm bad at this too, but you get a normal ring. But I was very anti this at first. I was joking with him. I was like, I want like a little pearl, like fuck the patriarchy, like I don't want to. All this shit's ridiculous. Like rings are like $30,000 and shit. Yeah. But then I started looking at rings, and I'm like, these are nice. And then I was like, I kind of want like 2 diamonds on my ring.
And you saw rings with him, so he already knew like finger size. And
we
all
did
that.
go.
Like well,
also he was like, how big do you want your ring to be? And like, I don't know rings. So I was like, I don't know, like 3-4 carats, and he was like that's like 70 grand, like a 4-carat ring. So he was like, what?
Carats are like $15,000.
Maybe.
Okay.
And it depends on like the clearness of it. Long story short, quality. I never thought of these things. Yeah. But then suddenly I found a guy who wanted to marry me. And then I was like, oh, fuck, I didn't think this would happen right now. So we ended up like a movie. Like we went to this jeweler in East Hampton and walked in and we're like, we're looking for rings. And you like try different rings on and they're like, this is the size, this is the clarity. And we'd look at each other and I'd be like, I like this or I like that. Is that the one
next to Cinderella?
I went to London Jewelers.
I think that's the one across the street
from
Cinderella.
It's like pretty, like it looks like a little house.
It has the steps, right?
Yes.
It looks like the Capitol building, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we went there and I was changing my mind on shape. It's just like a big investment.
Yes.
But ultimately I succumbed to like the culture of society, I guess, because I don't know. I feel like I was just like, this is kind of fun.
So
and he was down to do it.
So you haven't seen the other ring yet, though, the actual
So I think
ring.
you pick those out together.
But didn't you pick this out together?
I kind of did. I told him, like, okay, I want this shape and I want, like, gold, and saw what he did with it.
Okay.
It's very confusing.
Sure.
And a lot of people will get surprised with it and then they hate the ring, but it's like 25 grand.
Yeah.
And or someone will just like have to use their like dead grandma's diamond because that's like in the family and they really hate it, but they have to pretend they like it. Like there's a lot of shit. But I just feel like it's all like so, it feels so like old school.
Okay.
Especially when I'm like more of a like I pay for a lot of shit. I'm into like more equal finances stuff, so it seemed weird. I just don't ever like feel like I owe anyone shit.
Right. Except
and now it's like
we play, you owe tennis balls.
Yeah.
The pink tennis balls. Did I tell you we still have that candy?
Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, fine. I'll get tennis balls next. But I was taking advantage of you for that. But I do think like even little things like. The man spent a lot of money on this ring.
Yes.
And it's like, how am I going to say no to a blowjob, you know,
sure.
when he did that? And I don't like that, like how it weighs on me, you know? So it's just part of women being controlled by men. So.
Okay. Fair enough.
Just enforcing that.
So are your kids going to be Jewish? You are Jewish, correct?
So I'm like 25% Jewish.
Okay.
This is my dad's.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, my dad's dad was Jewish.
Okay.
Like a Kohen, like
Cohen.
Serious.
Last name.
Yeah, but then he got punched in the face by a rabbi when he was young and decided to be atheist. And he married a German just to like fuck religion.
Was there a context behind being punched in the face?
I mean, he was a loudmouth, like crazy kid, but he
like
just
during Hebrew school or something.
Yeah, and
like,
he got punched in the face by a rabbi and just like he just hated religion. It was pretty like there weren't a lot of atheists back then, but he was right. I grew up. He's been very opposed to organized religion. Yeah, married a blonde, blue-eyed German.
Let's go.
And then had who's actually her. Anyway, she's not Jewish, and then had my dad who married an Italian.
Okay.
So. But a lot of Jewish guys think I'm Jewish and like me.
Like me.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And then they find out that they can't. I'd have to like whatever.
Well, that's not such a big deal. My mom actually converted.
Oh yeah, you told me.
But it's not such a big deal. Would you do it?
Well, I was dating this guy in a past life who was kosher and like super Orthodox.
Okay.
And his family was like cool with me because I had enough Judaism.
Enough Jew blood.
But there's definitely guys like when I went to Wisconsin. There's not a lot of Jewish people except the ones from New York City.
Right,
and if you're a brunette, people are like, they assume you're Jewish.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of disappointing conversations.
Oh, okay. But you can, I mean, snap of the fingers, you can learn the freaking Torah, I'm sure.
Yeah, probably. But I'm also, yeah, I was put into actually Catholic school when I was younger, just on Sundays, because my parents wanted me to like see what a religion was like, and they wanted to get drunk with their friends on Sundays, so they just dropped me off. Right. But then by like 10 years old, I was playing too much tennis, and so I never got my confirmation or anything.
Are you going to stay in New York the rest of your life? Do you know?
I love New York so much.
Yeah.
My family's in New York.
Yes.
Whenever I recently figured out that like everything's about New York when you leave like when I first went to Florida, they put the news on and it's like from New York. And I'm like, wait, why don't they have a Florida one? They're like, no. And I didn't realize everything was about New York.
Yeah.
Didn't realize no one else likes New Yorkers, so that also was negative. I could see myself living in LA for a little, maybe like projects. Mm-hmm. I also love Australia, even though I've never been.
Okay. But you were saying you wanted to do like a tour out there.
I could see
myself.
What
do you think, guys? Should she do a tour out there? Let us know in the comments.
I could see myself for like, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months, just like waking up, having some coffee.
Yeah, looking at that thing in Sydney.
Yeah, whatever the fuck that thing is, looking at it, Finding Nemo type shit. And then like going for a jog, getting tan, eating avocado toast, doing some comedy.
Well, I think you should do that.
I wish I had an Australian accent. I feel like I'd be funnier.
Oi! No,
I can't really do it.
It's tough. So,
yeah.
Hey, how's it going, Ted?
Outback Steakhouse.
Ted, Outback Steakhouse. Oh, that's a tough one.
It's really tough.
Where else do you want to go? Australia. Where else have you been?
Well, this is the annoying thing. When you're with an older man, they're quite wise and cultured, and he's like been everywhere. So I'll be like, I want to go to Europe, and he's like, oh, so over Europe.
What's the age difference? 10 years?
He's 45, so it's 15 years.
Okay.
But he's like lived in Ireland most of his life, and like that's what I like about him, that he's like teaches me things and shit. But I'm like, I want to go to France, and he's like, okay.
So do you guys have plans then, I guess, to travel and such?
I think we do. But right now, like I'm traveling, like I was in Richmond, Virginia.
Let's go.
I'm going to Indianapolis in 2 weeks.
Okay. And when you go to these places, you're doing a show Thursday, 2 Friday, and 2 Saturday.
Yeah.
So 5.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's great. It's great for reps. When I first heard of it, I was like, why? Like I was like, this is insane. Cause I was doing one-nighters at first. And it's like, you want me to sell 5 shows in a weekend? Like, that's so much. But then I realized, like, that's how you create an hour.
Yeah.
By, like, giving yourself that time on stage that you don't get during the week. And, like, you have to be, like, tough on yourself. Like, okay, like, what can be better? Or, like, what isn't hitting? And, like, cutting off the fat and stuff, so.
Okay, so you actually just added a show in East Hampton.
Yes.
Is that to your tour?
Yes.
I would love to come. That'd
You
be so
have
fun.
to come, the Clubhouse, August
Are you
19th.
expecting, like, a massive crew there in terms of, like, your Hamptons peeps or what?
I do have.
Because you were in Shelter Island.
Yeah, I have
a
a bunch of like people who have been like, we just bought a bunch of tickets.
Oh, nice.
So I try to
Great.
see like naturally what's going on. I don't like to force my friends to do
August
stuff. August 19th
at
in East
Clubhouse
Hampton.
in East Hampton.
Yeah, it's a
Cool.
Thursday, which is like a
Okay.
little tough,
All
but
right, Thirsty Thursdays.
Thursday
right?
Thursdays.
Let's go.
It's August. Like people don't go to work in August,
Yeah,
so
right?
I think it'll be really fun because there's not like too much comedy going on right now over there.
Especially out there.
Yeah, yeah. So that'll be good.
Do you know what did that space used to be? If you're familiar
I
with
have no
that
clue.
area?
I feel like it always changes. But people are trying to just have a good time, and I think Thursday, like, start off the weekend with a couple laughs, and
Let's
then, like,
go.
yeah.
Let's go. Are you going to spend any time out there in the Hamptons? I know we briefly spoke on it. but
So
how
I'm
much
gonna
time are you
spend the
there?
last weekend in July in the Hamptons. I feel like I've been on this, like, grind of comedy being back. Like, if comedy didn't just come back, I might be more like, oh, I'll relax. But I'm, like, so excited to be doing it again. And, like, there's something about doing your set a lot that, like, you get to this next level of, like, you're not worried about the joke structure or remembering the order of your
Yeah,
jokes.
words
You're
and
just,
stuff.
like, you're not worried about words. You just kind of get in this flow where you're, like, worried about more, like, the next level shit of, like,
Yes.
yeah, your tone and, like, all that other stuff instead of just being like, oh, fuck, I hope I get these jokes right. Which was, like, when you first get back from quarantine, I was like, what's a joke? So now I'm in more of a flow. It's similar to tennis in so many ways, stand-up. However, you don't have a coach and there's no rules, which part of me loves, but it's also scary. Like, you know, after a match, it's easy for, like, you to look at your coach and he's like, okay, your backhand was shit. You missed too many second serves and you didn't go at their forehand enough. Whereas stand up, you get off and you're like, I guess I could listen to my set. I could, like, figure out, like, you don't have anyone telling you what to do, and stand-ups don't tell you what to do because everyone has their own bullshit.
Do you and Des kind of critique each other in terms of, like, your sets, or not really? Or is the source of, like, a lot of fights?
It's so funny. He proposed to me before ever hearing my comedy,
Interesting.
which some people would be like,
Well,
risky.
he must have listened to, like, podcasts.
He definitely listened. Yeah, he listened to podcasts,
This
and
is
obviously,
maybe semi-similar.
and I argue, like, I've seen him do stand-up, but, like, because I knew him so intimately before stand-up, to me, it's like, if I date an accountant, like, I don't care how he does his accounting job as long as he loves it and he's, like, doing well. So, like, when I see him do stand-up, I'm not, like, fantasizing about that guy. Like, I personally think he's funnier when it's, like, just me and him and, like, that kind of humor, because he's, like, a different person on stage, which I appreciate. But so I was nervous, though, the first time I did stand-up, like, and he joked, like, I don't know if I want to hear your stand-up, like, just, like, kind of nervous that maybe it's, like, something that he, like, hates.
Yeah. Are you, like, talking about ex-boyfriends too much or something? He'll just get jealous.
Yeah.
Does he not? I mean, I guess
so
not.
he just gets, like, really nervous when he watches me, like a mom,
Sure.
just nervous. But he's given me more, like, because he's had such a long career, he's like, okay, you're at the point where you have to, like, be experimenting more. You can't be so tight on stage and rigid. You have to be, like, improving. You have to be reaching for things. The last show I did, he rarely, like, tells me notes on specific jokes because I have my own voice, really, like, that he won't be able to have. But he told me, like, I was doing, like, a ton of crowd work in the beginning of one of my shows, and it was, like, really hitting and everyone was loving it. And then I got to this, like, lull in the middle where people weren't laughing as much, but, like, I was hitting all my jokes right. And he was like, that's just a something I learned early on in my career where like if you get them too hyped up, they almost get distracted by that energy, and then when you go back to normal energy, they have to like decompress.
Right.
And I hadn't yet done that much crowd work in like a 45-minute set, and he was like, you just have to be able to like, and then people get annoyed if you are too into the crowd sometimes, and they get tired. So like little things that he can see that I can't see.
Yeah.
So it's been beneficial, but mostly just him like believing in me and being like, yeah, like I'm so, yeah. And it never was like, do you think I'm good? It's more like, I just know deep down, like he's proud.
Wow.
So it's nice, but you're right. It was a very rare situation because there's so many things that go wrong. He does actually, he's so cute. He came out to me and he was like, I have this joke about like having sex with a girl like when I was 14, but the joke is that like I know her phone number and like I don't know your phone number. And I was like, yeah, I don't care. But like he asked, like it would upset me, which is adorable.
Yeah.
But he will like, yeah, he will go into, he's lived his whole life like a bachelor and like never had to think of those things. So we both had to kind of change our material, but he'll hear my jokes about him or we'll like talk about something and I'll be like, oh, that feels like more your voice. Like he'll be like, that's a good joke, you should write it down. I'll be like, no, that's good for you. Yeah. So we're just very different on stage in like the best way, I think.
Are you going on tour together, or is he just stopping by? Like,
so he's doing some places with me. Like some places it's not worth it. Like, and I also think in the beginning I kind of was like, I want you there, and then I realized like I don't need him there.
Yeah, totally.
So it was a nice little like support system in the beginning, and then he was like, you're good.
Huh.
Cool. Yeah.
So Hannah, I drilled you with I don't even know how many questions. Do you have any questions for me or the couch?
No, I don't care.
Listening? Go ahead.
I don't care. No, why do you have so many tchotchkes on your?
I'm happy you asked. So those like men with the Speedo bathing suits on over there, like
yeah.
this little.
Is that from a drink?
No, it's from. Yes. Oh my God, I was gonna say it was from a birthday cake. It is from a drink.
Yeah, like you put it on your drink.
Yeah, but you put it on like one of those margaritas.
Then you have a fidget spinner, which is fun.
A fidget spinner right next to it, a bowl. I have a lot of weird stuff in the studio though.
Yeah.
If you fully analyze it.
But I do love exposed brick. That's It's very important to me. I do a joke about like when like a guy is exposed brick, like it's a turn on.
Yes.
But then how I did it in LA and people were like a crack den. Yeah. I was like, it's really expensive in Brooklyn.
Yeah. Totally. The exposed brick in Brooklyn compared to like Los Feliz, I can imagine.
Like I literally was like, if this exposed brick in partner, I will fuck you. And someone was like, a crack house?
Like an Echo Park?
Yeah.
All right, well, Hannah, before we get out of here, I have 2 special gifts for you for coming on this couch. We have a lovely Ted Jones World Podcast hat.
Oh, yay!
Yeah, so this is actually one of the ones that was messed up because the world is not fully. So it's like authentic first edition. I wanted to give you that one.
Oh, is that we're calling?
Also, we have the Ted Jones Comedy Show T-shirt. Hannah Berner will be at the show.
I love it.
July 23rd at 9:30 p.m. Guys, Asylum NYC in Chelsea. Get your tickets. The Ted Jones World Instagram has the tickets. The link in my bio.
So exciting.
That's going to be a very great show. I hope to see all you guys out
What
there.
are those crystals for?
I think the mood. I had them.
What kind of
there.
mood, though? Like,
pink.
what do they help with?
I think anxiety and vibration like that. I don't know. Like the last girl I was seeing who I've spoken to you about, like was super into them. So I don't know. I bought them just because she liked them though. You know how you do that sometimes?
Should you burn them now?
I don't know. In the fireplace? I don't know, we got a lot of good books over there. That's also a thing in New York. If you have a fireplace that doesn't work.
Yeah.
It means
it's aesthetic.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
I think we're good.
Thank you so much. Hannah Berner, ladies and gentlemen, let's give her a round of applause. Hannah, I'll see you on the tennis court. Peace!